et du Conseil de l'AIM. I bring you greetings from the President of the International Actuarial Association, Mo Chambers, and from past President Jean Berton of France, who had hoped to be here to present this talk on behalf of the IAA, but has had to remain in France to oversee a change in the constitution of the French Actuarial Associations. As Pierre mentioned, actuaries make financial sense of the future. And this sentence, which was used by the Institute of Actuaries in celebrating its 150th anniversary 3 years ago, is perhaps the most succinct expression of what actuaries do, and which is able to convey something to an audience who have not experienced the work of an actuary or have little understanding of the work which actuaries carry out. I think I've got the wrong presentation here, so I go back. I'll continue anyway. But the purpose of this presentation now is to introduce to you the International Actuarial Association, which is very delighted to be a co-sponsor of this seminar with the Lebanese Actuarial Association. In fact, the IAA greatly welcomes the establishment of the Lebanese Actuarial Association to join the club of actuaries around the world. At this point, the application of the Lebanese Association for full membership of the IAA is being processed, and we hope to be able to welcome the Lebanese Association as a full member of the IAA at the next council meeting, which will take place in March next year in Mexico. The International Actuarial Association has a long and distinguished history, going back to 1895, when actuaries from a number of countries met together to form the first Congress of Actuaries and to establish the so-called Comité Permanent des Congrès d'Actuaires, which was to perform the role of organizing congresses every 3 or 4 years from then on until the present day. And the members of this organization were individual actuaries from around the world. More recently, the IAA has established special interest groups to pursue the interests of actuaries in particular areas, such as in general insurance and in finance and investment, two bodies known as ASTIN and AFIR, organize seminars, research, and publications in these fields. And then in the 1990s, it became understood that the profession was undergoing globalization as so many other organizations, and through a process which began with the formation of the International Forum of Actuarial Associations and ended with the new constitution of the IAA in 1998, we have turned the IAA into a new body which represents the associations of actuaries around the world and concentrates on promoting the professionalism and the role of the actuary. And for that reason alone, it would be particularly appropriate for the IAA to be associated with this event, which is promoting the role of the actuary in the Lebanese economy and environment. And our aim in the IAA is to create a global profession which will have common standards of education and professionalism throughout the world. It has a very active committee structure which responds to activities which are taking place in other professions and other global bodies. continuing to serve the needs of individual members. To be a member of the IAA, an association must first of all have an adequate code of conduct which complies with requirements similar to those embodied in the codes of conduct of European actuarial associations and North American actuarial associations, and also an effective disciplinary process to ensure that that code of conduct can be put into place and there can be proper dealing with any situations where the code of conduct is alleged to have been breached. The Actuarial Association should also be in a position, as it becomes more mature, to issue standards of practice and should have a due process for doing that before moving into the adoption of such standards. And then critically, and you'll hear more of this later, the Actuarial Association must commit to implementing the education requirements of the IAA by 2005. The mission of the Actuarial Association of the World, the International Actuarial Association, is to encourage the development of a global profession acknowledged as technically competent and professionally reliable, which will ensure that the public interest is served. And there you have three components of importance at the IAA level. Technical competence based on a strong education, professional reliability based on membership of a professional body which has an appropriate code of conduct and which lays appropriate emphasis on the need for professionalism in all activities. And then thirdly, the central focus on the public interest. That is one of the reasons that professions exist, so that they should ensure that through their professional activities and their educational activities, people are available with the skills and the professionalism to serve the publics in the countries in which they are. The IAA has an enormous committee structure, which I won't go into in detail. The list of committees is there and in your packs. Just to mention a couple of committees which are of relevance perhaps for today. The Education Committee, which is developing the guidelines which must be followed globally by actuarial associations. The Advice and Assistance Committee, which is the one which agreed to sponsor this meeting on behalf of the IAA, and is the committee which is most involved in seeking to encourage the development of the profession in countries where actuaries have been underrepresented up to now. And then the Insurance Accounting Standards Committee, which is performing a most enormous role at the moment in the development of insurance accounting standards, about which I will talk briefly in a moment. As the IAA, we also have an active contact and participation with many international bodies, including the International Social Security Association, the International Association of Insurance Supervisors, and the International Accounting Standards Board. And you'll see others mentioned there with whom we have held joint seminars or had active contacts in recent months. Insurance accounting standards are going to affect the whole world, and the International Accounting Standards Board is in the process of developing a new standard on accounting for insurance contracts, which I'm sure will influence insurance companies and regulation of insurance here in Lebanon and indeed everywhere throughout the world. And the IAA has taken it as a major project to work with the IASB to ensure that this standard which is developed is of the highest standard and is able to be implemented successfully throughout the world. And alongside the accounting standard, we intend to produce an actuarial standard of practice which will be adopted by the IAA so that all actuaries who work in this field with accountants in producing financial statements in accordance with international standards will comply with the actuarial standard. The education guidelines are going to be very important for the future, as they will guarantee for us that actuarial education in all member associations reaches a certain minimum standard to guarantee that actuaries are being educated adequately in all countries. And this will be fully implemented from 2005 to set a benchmark for educational standards for actuaries around the world. Well, with these activities of the IAA, we believe that we are the first profession to be organized globally through a single organization with the prospect of common education requirements, common code of conduct, common voice in the international arena, and common development of professional standards. So this is a great opportunity for Lebanon to join this international association which globally organizes the actuarial profession, and for that to be the springboard for the actuarial profession to develop and flourish in Lebanon. So with that, I bring again the best wishes of the International Actuarial Association and the hope that this will be just the start of a very fruitful and prosperous development of the actuarial profession in Lebanon. Thank you very much. I'd like now to introduce the next speaker, Ibrahim Rouhana, who is founder member of the Lebanese Actuarial Association. He is in fact a member of the Council of the International Actuarial Association already, and a member of several of the committees of the IAA, including the Education Committee and the Advice and Assistance Committee. And he's now going to speak to us not in those capacities, but as chairman of the Rouhana Foundation, another of the sponsors of this event today.